Now we're coming to Zeta. And Zeta is the end of what I would call general math, because we've already done all of our basic operations, add, subtract, multiply, divide, and fractions. And Zeta is one more example where everything begins to come together, because we're going to be studying decimals and percents. Now, we did a little bit of percents in epsilon. We'll do a little bit more later, but the main thing about percents are that you really can't use a percent until you change it to a decimal anyway. And so percents, even though they're a part of our culture since Roman times, and we know that we use them whenever we go to buy something, 50%, 30% off, whatever, you really have to change them to decimals. So decimals is our focus. Now, decimals, though, are a way of writing a fraction in base 10. So we're bringing together place value and fractions. And so once again, if your fractions are weak or your place value knowledge is weak, then it was going to impact how you understand decimals. So also in Zeta, though, besides the primary focus on fractions and decimals and percents, we're going to be bringing in things like mean, median, mode, probability, a little bit of geometry, and some other things to round out the curriculum. The first thing, though, that we teach, and one of the reasons is because we're doing decimals, we want to write that in what I call expanded notation or place value notation. We need to learn some more exponents. So exponents are, and this is something I never knew when I was a high school teacher, this is confession time, but the reason that we call them squares, like if this was 3 by 3, and the factors are 3 over and 3 up, and I tell the kids, well, that's 3 times itself twice, 3 to the 2 power, 3 raised to a power of 2, lots of ways to say it. But we also say it's 3 squared, and it makes a square. I know that shouldn't be a revelation, but it was to me. So that's 3 square, and the area is 9, and the factors are each 3. This one is over how much? 10. Up 10, it's our old friend, and inside is 100. So this would be 10 by 10, or with exponents, 10 squared. Now we're going to start having some more fun, though. If you remember what we did for multiplication, if we add a 10 to each side, now we have, if you were a little ant walking across the top, you'd have 10, 11 this way, 10 plus 1, and you'd have 10 plus 1 up, just the edges of the dimensions, and that would be 11 squared. And 11 squared would be how much? 100, 2 tens, 1 unit, 121. You see that okay? This is where I have to stop, because we're just at demo here, but you can really do this with little kids, because all you're doing is making rectangles and then looking at what you've got inside. But you can also do the opposite of finding a square. If you were given 121 and you said, what's the square root of 121? Or I like to say, what are the square's factors? Then you make a rectangle and you go backwards and you say it's 11. So when you have the visual, then things like this that's not normally taught till algebra or upper level becomes very readily seen. Okay, now when you use Zeta, you're also going to need the algebra decimal inserts, which we are currently packaging in this little box. And the algebra decimal inserts, this is the teacher kit, remember. So if you had 100 block and you snap in this flat piece, what do you think?